Anytime y'all are ready.
Is it going?
Hold on. Now it is. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know where to start except when I was a kid growing up, we used to alleviate a lot of the tire problems on these trucks by stealing the watermelons off of them so they wouldn't have such a heavy load. And we even had a deputy sheriff offer to drive for us if we ever needed a driver. And so, but we used to go out and drop people off in a culvert right just short of a four-way stop sign or two-way stop sign. And when these trucks would come out of Three Rivers, well, whenever they would pass over the culvert, the kids in the culvert would jump up and run up behind the truck. And he'd have to stop and waiting for these cars coming from the other direction to let him go by. And a lot of times we had as many as 4 and 6 cars out there that he'd have to sit there and wait for all these cars just one at a time to come by. And while he was sitting there waiting at the stop sign, we were unloading his truck and rolling the watermelons off into the ditch so that we could pick them up. And then when the driver drove off, well, all these cars would come in and we'd load these watermelons up. And Deputy Sheriff talked with us one night and he said, I want to talk to you boys about stealing these watermelons. And we said, well, you know, we didn't know what he's talking about. And he said that these truck drivers have their maps, and there's a big black X over Three Rivers. And that's to keep truckers from coming through Three Rivers with watermelons. And he said, I got a call from a truck driver the other day. And I said, really? What did he have to say? And he said, well, he'd left the valley with a full load of melons. He went through all the little towns between the valley and Three Rivers and didn't lose a melon. And he came through Three Rivers and lost 33 watermelons off that one truck. And he said he knew where he lost them. So he said, you boys gonna have to cut back, because he said they've just got Three Rivers blackballs and they don't even come through here anymore. So that's the way we used to get our watermelons, and they were a lot sweeter than the ones that you buy. So that's all the watermelon story. We used to do it. So we went to a watermelon patch one night, and there were 5 of us, 4 or 5, and we loaded a car up where the back bumper drug whenever we drove the road, because we had so many watermelons in the car that we had to get them back into town. And poor old Jess Dowd was deputy sheriff, and he raised these little icebox melons, not much bigger than cantaloupes. And every morning his wife worked at the cafe, and we were having coffee with his wife one morning, and Jess came in, and Mrs. Dowd asked us, said, did Jess tell you what happened? And we said, well, no, Jess hadn't told us anything. And she was telling us about his little icebox watermelons, and said his habit every morning was to come through the kitchen, get him a cup of coffee, and go stand on his back porch and look out on the backyard and see all his little watermelons growing out there. And said he came through yesterday morning and said he got his cup of coffee, stepped out in the backyard, and you got to remember Three Rivers has a lot of sandburrs, grass burrs, what we call goat heads, and they're hard on your feet. And Jess had gotten his cup of coffee and stepped out on the back porch, and she heard that cup hit the floor and break, and Jess was cussing, and said she ran to the back door to see what was going on, and said, he was standing out in the middle of this little patch he had, and here's all these big old black diamond watermelons all over the backyard in his little watermelon patch. And said he was sitting out there saying, "Damn kids, those damn kids." And said he knew where they came from. And said he thought a miracle had happened overnight. Had all those great old big watermelons out there in his little icebox melon patch. So, but that was it.